quick things before I start my set. Some hilarious short pieces of fiction I'm going to read for all of you tonight. One, quick fashion thing. I've been doing some of these spoken shows in a shirt and tie for a while, and it's just too much work making myself look good. And for a while, it gave me kind of like a 5% psychological edge over everyone at my shows, but then it was like 4%, 3%. I figured tonight was be like 2%. Not worth the effort. I probably entered the who gives a shit period of my life. Sorry you had to be here for it. But, hey, bonus tonight, if I do this, and if I hold the mic like this, it kind of looks like I'm rapping. So if any of you want to take pictures with your camera phones or whatever, and then later, if you see a friend somewhere in Lemon Grove, California, and your friend's like, what did Sam McPheeters do at that show the other night? You can be like, it was nuts, he got up there and did like freestyle for an hour. And then your friend would say, that sounds awful. I'm sorry you had to be there. And you say, no, it was amazing. He was incredible. It was like the last 10 minutes of 8 Mile. Who the hell knew he could rap like that? And then when it's like 2 weeks from now, and I'm sitting in front of my computer in my underwear at 4 in the morning, crying and Googling myself, I'll read your friend's blog, and then there'll be a slight bit of relief. So just, if you want, the mic's like this, and the hood's up. Number 2, real quick. If anything slithers out of the creepy hole in the ceiling above me, I want one of you to say something. Don't like stand there and snicker and wait for it to fall on my shoulder, because that's BS. Sorry.
Watch your back, dude!
Okay, you're in charge. San Diego Chargers guy. Everyone saw you take responsibility.
Eye on your hole.
Alright, eye on the hole. It's the name of my solo album, by the way. Hey, the inauguration in D.C. I went to 2 months ago, and I would be doing myself a grave disservice if I didn't now talk about the inauguration experience, being in Washington, D.C., to everyone I meet, people at parties, people at the supermarket, or roomfuls of strangers here in Lemon Grove, California. So the deal was, I got hired by a magazine in New York to do a short piece on being in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration. Did not have a ticket, so the gist of the article was just me kind of wandering the streets with the rabble. Totally fun. My wife and I purchased plane tickets to go to D.C. in Thanksgiving, and we were just completely stoked. I don't even know if stoked covers all the ground. I've only lived in California for 10 years, so whatever the next word is above stoked, blaz, or I don't know what, mega, so we were mega stoked to be going to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration. But a weird thing happened, I'm sure everyone kind of remembers that, in the like 7 weeks between Thanksgiving and right before the inauguration, the media turned the story very quickly into how miserable it was going to be. At one point, they were saying there were going to be 5 million people there, and there's no toilets, and there is not going to be any food for anyone, and with wind chill, it's going to be negative 40 degrees, and basically it's going to be a huge Dante's Inferno mosh pit of humanity. And I started to kind of feel like a crummy husband, you know, like, I'm fine going, that's the point, is for me to go and be miserable with everybody, but like, I don't want to drag my wife through that, and she was getting bummed out, and it started to turn into this thing that we were slowly dreading, because the story just got built up and up and up. 3 days before we go, we get a Hail Mary pass. A friend calls and says, you know what, I got an inauguration ticket, I don't want it, because it sounds like a miserable, wretched experience. I want you to have it. So it was a perfect solution. My wife gets the ticket, I get to go hang out with the rabble in the gutter. Everyone's happy. So the day comes. We fly to the East Coast. We meet up with some of my in-laws. We rent a car. We get down to the metro. We take the train back into Washington, D.C. on the night before the inauguration. And we actually find someone whose house we can stay at. We sleep on the floor of his basement for no money. We wake up on the morning of January 20th, 2009 in Washington, D.C., this day that everyone on Earth since the dawn of man has been waiting for, including, I think, George W. Bush. Every single person on Earth completely mega stoked that this day has arrived. So, two quick weird things about DC as we set out that morning. It was in fact very cold. Very noticeable weird things. One, you kind of forget quickly that, like, you know, we all share this country with these people of vast power and privilege and wealth. You're never going to see them, the people who run the show, but if you're in Washington on the day of the inauguration, boom, there they are. And so there were a couple, like, junction points on my transit through the city where, like, there's the dudes with the full-on $5 billion tuxedo, and they're standing next to their wife, and the wife is in some, like, shimmery dress that you only wear to the Oscars, or if you are accepting a Nobel Prize for being rich, or if you're going to the friggin' inauguration. So I had given myself on the flight a little, like, pep talk, you know, from, like, a high school newspaper media class. Like, I'm going to interview everybody. I'm gonna talk to the guys, the street vendors, and the crazy straight dude with the shiv, and the guy selling pizza bagels, and the sleep-deprived bricklayer from Seattle, and the little old lady from Iowa. And so, of course, you know, it's a lot scarier when you're there in person. And my bluff instantly was called. Like, I should probably talk to mega rich dude who runs the entire country. Every time I went up to talk to these people with my sad little notebook, you know, and my pen out, they would do this. They would just look off into history, actively dismissing my very existence. Meanwhile, I'm wearing my powder blue basic editions ski parka, which I bought for $8 at Leroy's Boys Home Thrift Store on Holt Avenue in Pomona, which I realized at that point might as well have had the words thrift store stenciled on the back. So my entire day in Washington, confidence just gone. And so the rest of my story reflects this complete lack of confidence as I'm walking through the city. The other part of it that was really weird, some of you probably picked up on this, is that there were no protesters, period. It's like, for anyone who is my parents' age or younger, that's kind of weird. From, I think, at least LBJ on, any event, presidential, whether, you know, the president's involved, let alone a friggin' inauguration, like, there are going to be lefty protesters. There's probably always been, like, right-wing protesters and right-wing crazy people since, like, back to the, you know, George Washington days. But there were no left-wing protesters at this thing at all. But I saw two groups later. I saw on TV, looking over someone's shoulder in the freezing cold, some of the Guantanamo Bay guys, who the dudes all dressed up like the Guantanamo Bay people with the orange hoods and the you know, the jumpsuits and the blinders and the ear things and the shackles. And it was the only time in my life I've had that actual, like, weird right-wing reaction, kind of like when Pat Boone had a little, like, Rumpelstiltskin hissy fit meltdown over the Abu Ghraib photos. And, you know, why are they showing all that bad part of America? That's what I was like on that. Why are they showing this crap? You know, why can't they, what does elected black superhero do for our president? Why can't they show that? I don't know what my logic is, thinking maybe that there's, like, a man in Belgium watching the inauguration, you know, with tears streaming down his face, and then it cuts to Guantanamo Bay protesters. He's like, oh, wait! Screw America, jihad! That's not real. I understand that. But I don't totally get the logic of the Guantanamo Bay people, because what's the point? I mean, Obama's whole thing was like, I'm going to shut down Guantanamo. He gets inaugurated on Tuesday. He signs the bill on Thursday. I guess you could make the argument that he dilly-dallied, he dithered for like 2 days, you know, and so maybe the logic of the dudes in the hoods is like, well, if we hadn't kept the heat up on him, it wouldn't have been till Friday. Like, I don't totally get that.